Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Richard Moore, and this is Richard Moore In Depth. Not so in depth today. We'll get into more in depth on the labor force participation rate and the jobs numbers next week. But for the moment, there's just the news out today that there's bad news on the jobs front. And I would like to add that there's worse news probably coming thanks to Joe Biden. So the jobs report came out this morning. It's pretty dismal. Economists were expecting the addition of 535,000 new jobs. Only 210,000 were actually added. Now, that number will likely be revised higher, but it won't come near what economists were expecting. And it reflects ongoing labor market and supply chain disruptions, as well as the reluctance of businesses, large and small, to invest in the economy because of all the uncertainty surrounding Joe Biden's economic policies, not to mention his cognitive competence. The glimmer of good news was the labor force participation rate, rising from 61.6% to 61.8%. And that's the first time the number topped 61.7% since the beginning of the pandemic. And what that means is that 61.8% of the eligible labor force was either working or looking for work, the rest having dropped out for whatever reason. Now, I'm going to do a deep dive into the labor force participation rate next week, but the Biden administration is hoping against hope that this bump means workers are finally returning to the sidelines and will be here to stay. Maybe, but don't hold your breath. First, we're still way short of the pre pandemic labor force participation rate of 63.3%. That's about 3 million workers fewer. And I'll take a look at that next week. So we have to gain a lot of ground even to get back to the line of scrimmage. Biden's policies continue to work as impediments to that happening. First, there is the ongoing pandemic policies of doom and gloom. Now, according to public health officials, the Omicron variant is coming to get us. Panic has ensued. The governor of New York has issued a state of emergency, never mind that no one knows how severe the variant is. The Biden administration has already slapped travel bans on South Africa and 7 other nations, at least one of which had no Omicron cases at all, even though we know that once a variant is uncovered somewhere, it's already most everywhere, and sure enough, it's in the US. The travel bans are useless. So far, the administration appears ready and eager to once again employ the tactics of terrifying people, and this will terrify many people from entering or staying in the workforce. Biden's purposeful inflation policies will also keep workers home or drive them there. Prices are rising higher than wages, and that will not likely move workers into the labor market, and it will move even fewer women who are disproportionately caregivers and who are experiencing sharp increases in the cost of child and elder care. If there was any doubt inflation is going to hang around a while, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell dismissed it this week before the Senate Banking Committee. He said it's difficult to predict the persistence and effects of supply constraints, but it now appears that factors pushing inflation upward will linger well into next year. And about that Biden talk about inflation being transitory, here's what Powell said about that. The word transitory has different meanings for different people. To many, it carries a sense of short lived. We tend to use it to mean that it won't leave a permanent mark in the form of higher inflation. I think it's probably a good time to retire that word and try to explain more clearly what we mean. Well, what he means is to expect higher prices as a new normal. Then there's those pesky vaccine mandates, Biden's and Canada's too. For instance, we really have a shortage of truckers, and this affects not just that industry, but businesses all along the truck route. Because if they can't get product, the businesses that is, they cut back on workers to, among other things, counter inflation and an inability to fully serve their customers. Now, that could be getting worse because the Canadian government confirmed last Friday that drivers entering Canada will be required to show proof of vaccination as of January 15th. According to the Canadian Trucking Alliance, this is expected to significantly impact available truck capacity and is a perfect storm. According to Truck News, the Canadian Trucking Alliance estimates that about 38,000 truck drivers could opt out of cross border work in the face of the vaccine mandate About 120,000 Canadian truck drivers run cross border routes, while 40,000 U.S. licensed truck drivers do the same, the report warns. In the U.S., Biden's mandates are on the ropes constitutionally, but many businesses have been implementing them anyway in anticipation of their implementation. If those mandates do take effect, expect a huge new labor force exodus, if a recent survey by Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce is any indication. WMC says it conducted the survey in November of its members with 100 employees or more on the proposed mandate. The survey revealed that 88% of respondents expect to lose a significant part of their workforce if the mandate is enacted. Of the businesses who anticipate losing employees, more than half expect to lose between 11 and 40% of their workforce under the mandate. WMC President and CEO Kurt Bauer put it this way: this mandate is not only unlawful, it is unworkable. If enacted, most employers would not be able to comply with the rigorous requirements, and to make matters worse, workers would end up walking off the job. Business owners usually know what they are talking about when it comes to their workers, so Biden's fun ride through the carnival of authoritarian horrors is far from over. I'm never one at my age to want to see time fly by, but I just cannot wait for November 2022. I hope everybody can have a good weekend, what with all these reports, and I'll see you on Monday. Thanks, everybody, for reading and listening.